Oil, the black blood of our civilization. Welcome to Old Soul Town, my classic Lego city that's run by the Shell Company. It's time for an update. First, a short story time. When I was in kindergarten, we went and visited a friend of mine that was a year older and had started school. He had a Lego town with set 375 castle from 1978 in the center. That blew my little mind and was the seed that became a lifelong fascination of miniature worlds that now is blooming into a flower up here in my attic. Set 375 castle from 1978 is also called the Yellow Castle because it's yellow, which is super strange, but I know why it isn't gray. More on that later. Now this set is missing something important, a moat. Don't worry, I'm going to fix that in today's update, so stick around. The moat will be built on this larger grey base plate, and the castle will be raised up a bit on bricks. First I had to clean my dusty old castle that I actually got dirt cheap. I'll tell you the price later. While the castle is drying, I'm using this road plate as a template for it. The water will be built using transparent 1x2 bricks to give it a bit of depth. This is not a natural waterway, so it can be super square. The Yellow Castle is not built on one single base plate, but on a couple of smaller ones, which makes it very unstable. So I'm using this small base plate to figure out where the supporting bricks needs to go. Alright, something like this. If we test that out, it still flexes too much, but if I add a support in the middle, that will be enough. I'm not going to place a lot of weight on these plates, so there's no need to waste more bricks than needed. That looks like a modern art installation honoring a major loss of human life. The base plate slides around on the tiles, which is a nice play feature that needs to be stopped. To hold the castle in place, I'm building a frame with profile bricks that will go around the whole moat. I'm using dark gray for the bottom row since it will be wet from the water. And since the water bricks are transparent, one can imagine that this will be visible through the bricks. But surprise, surprise, this is just for our viewing pleasure in this video, since it's not really going to show when the water is in place. The other reason for using profile brick is that I don't want to waste my ordinary dark gray pieces. I have a ton of profile bricks, so they're good for this kind of job. The light gray will however be visible, giving a nice, more realistic contrast to the toy-like yellow color of the Yellow Castle. That's a snugly fit, but enough of that nonsense. Here's an outer row for the moat. You can put in water just like this, but that looks a bit shallow. So I'm going for the black plate trick, adding black underneath to make the moat seem deeper than it is. To make the water stacks fit in perfect, I added one plate and one tile. Now this is so satisfying. How Lego pieces can fit in different directions like this? Amazing. The castle has hinges on the bottom because it can open up. I'm using small panel pieces to accommodate those hinges. And that pops in like so. Pretty pretty. I made room for the drawbridge. A little path up to it. Around the moat we have this small green incline that supports the bricks from collapsing from the weight of the water. It looks rather smart, I would say. And then I've added green plates to cover the top of the bricks, since they over the years probably been overgrown with grass and moss. Move that into its spot in me old town. In front of it I will work on a touristy medieval square on a second large grey base plate. And since the switch to paper, opening these really feels like opening a present. It's like Christmas all over again, and I got to pay for it again. Let's pop in the minifigs. I'm imagining that they are actors that maybe sings and dance for the visitors' enjoyment. Oh boy, he looks like how I feel. I've kept most of these figs in the state I acquired them in. For some reason I like that worn look for them. Here's a spy from my other Soul Town. The Yellow Castle had brick-built horses, which are a bit large and bulky. I'm going to use them as statues guarding the castle. I think that's a nice homage to its history. And I'm using the more modern horses that are vintage these days for the knights. Man, these look so cool, and the visor for the helmets are great looking, but fall off all of the time, which is stressful since they are kinda expensive these days, and I don't want to lose them. These knights and squires looks like they are ready to go on a crusade, destroying other cultures and getting more rich while doing so by raping and pillaging. Man, it looks so cool. Some extra guards in the front to welcome the visitors to this monument of the old oppressor's might. Here's an old fella that is into history so much his family left him. It happens to the best of us. Alright, why is this castle yellow and not grey? We can clearly see that LEGO did make grey parts back in the day. The helmets and weapons are grey in this same set. Well, it's said that LEGO was worried that kids would use the grey pieces to build realistic looking tanks. So they stayed away from the grey nonsense for a couple of years. Luckily, I would never build a realistic tank. Here's my custom cartoony tank instead. Speaking of tanks, if you want to support the channel, you can do so via the Tanks button. This looks a bit open and empty on the side. Here's a modified replica of set 1589, town square from 1978, that act as a gate to the medieval part of town. I don't have all the parts for it, so that's a good reason to modify it. I've added a function winch so they can get goods up to the storage room. This lady has her big afro and brown pants, and a nice torso for that 70s style. I'm a torso guy. The other lady really wants some ice baby, and I don't blame her. You treat yourself, girl. A freezer for the popsicles. And as you can see, I've added a couple of posters. Now this set is open on the back side, but since we will see it from both sides, I've added walls to the back. A door for the ice cream kiosk. Those newer black barrows look so dang good. We have our local godfather keeping the business protected from himself. Check out this cool dude having a coffee and a sandwich, looking all smart with the sunglasses. Gentrification is of course a thing, the bigger fish eating the smaller ones, so the old post office is now a coffee chain instead, offering bland, expensive coffee and underpaid baristas. Wonderful! He's a handsome fella though. Nice man bun, dude. Here's a delivery truck for good fun. I want to add a little tournament, a platform for the visitors to sit on and other medieval touristy things. Hit me up with suggestions if you've been to a real world place like this. I'm thinking of adding an extra yellow wall here in the coming video and connecting this with another similar set. I'm also going to expand the road this way, so I'll have to change this crossing. This yellow castle was the best deal I've ever made. I got it for 30 euros at a local thrift store, with a box and instructions. On Bricklink people are selling it for over 300 euros and then still not complete. Old Soul Town is really starting to come together. Still no housing for the figs. I've gotten some excellent suggestions from you viewers for that, so I'm excited to start working on the residential area soon. With that said, stay out of the nonsense, stay awesome, please subscribe and watch out for the horses!